The Dark Side of the Moon syncs perfectly with The Wizard of Oz. Fans call it Dark Side of the Rainbow, and they swear by the timing. You start the album on the third roar of the MGM Lion and let it roll. Suddenly, lyrics and visuals start lining up in uncanny ways. Dorothy steps onto the yellow brick road around the line no one told you when to run. She places her ear to the Tin Man's chest, and that iconic heartbeat pulses through the speakers. The great gig in the sky swells as the tornado rips through Kansas, amplifying the chaos on screen. Instrumental stretches seem to cradle long visual transitions. The album's themes of time, madness, and mortality drift alongside Dorothy's surreal journey. When you see and hear the pairings, the overlaps become oddly mesmerizing. Michael Vronsky becomes Travis Bickle. Fans connect the dots through Robert De Niro, who plays Michael in The Deer Hunter, and later plays Travis in Taxi Driver, creating a striking thread of actor continuity. Michael returns from Vietnam carrying grief, silence, and memories of Russian roulette and Nick's death, and that emotional withdrawal feels like the seed of something darker. Travis appears as a Vietnam veteran drifting through New York City, battling insomnia, isolation, and a mind that won't settle. The theory says Michael leaves his rural steel town behind, unable to reconnect, and eventually reinvents himself in the city. The war trauma evolves, his detachment turns into fixation, his discipline twists into obsession, and his pain surfaces in violent urges. Their shared military past and psychological scars line up so seamlessly. By the way, if you guys like movie theories like these, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, Bruce Wayne doesn't survive the nuke. The theory leans hard on what they actually show in The Dark Knight Rises. Talia al Ghul's neutron bomb is strapped to the bat, ticking down over Gotham Bay, and they make it crystal clear that the blast radius would have wiped out millions. Batman flies it out over the water, cuts his tether to the city, and the screen fills with that massive detonation. There's no shot of Bruce ejecting, no clear escape, just fire in the sky. Inside the story, Gotham believes he's dead, they hold a funeral, Wayne Manor becomes an orphanage, his absence feels final. Alfred later spots a man who looks like Bruce at a cafe, but that moment mirrors his earlier confession about imagining Bruce safe and happy. Lucius discovering the fixed autopilot comes later, yet they never actually show Bruce surviving that explosion. The Martian is a prequel to Interstellar. This theory stitches the films together through Matt Damon, who plays Mark Watney, surviving alone on Mars and later appears as Dr. Mann, drifting through deep space. Fans imagine a shared timeline where Watney's mission in the 2030s marks the beginning of humanity's desperate expansion beyond Earth. His potato farming on Mars becomes more than a survival trick, it hints at fragile ecosystems and unintended consequences. In Interstellar, Earth's crops are failing, and blight is choking the planet, pushing secret space programs into action. The idea suggests Watney returns home and is forced to change his name after bringing back a harmful virus that destroys Earth's crops and wipes out a large population. NASA eventually operates underground, launching Lazarus missions through a wormhole. When they need someone to embark on this desperate mission, they turn to none other than disgraced astronaut Mark Watney, now going by Hugh Mann. The progression feels natural, moving from one stranded astronaut to a civilization gambling on other galaxies. The Truman Show is running out of money. This theory zooms in on the cracks in Christoph's perfect illusion and treats them as budget problems instead of random glitches. A massive stage light literally falls from the artificial sky, and that doesn't scream flawless upkeep, it feels like deferred maintenance on a set that's aging. Technical slip-ups start stacking up. Extras seem sloppier. Truman's father wanders back into frame with less control than expected. Product placement grows more obvious, with characters practically pitching items mid-conversation, which feels like a production squeezing every dollar it can. Even the show within the world advertises itself, hinting that viewership might need a boost. Big elaborate experiences for Truman appear to scale back over time. Crew members miss key moments during his escape. This idea reframes perfection as expensive chaos barely holding together. Jack Dawson becomes Jay Gatsby. This theory leans into the shared face of Leonardo DiCaprio, connecting the starving artist from Titanic to the mysterious millionaire in The Great Gatsby. Fans imagine Jack surviving the freezing Atlantic, slipping away from his old life, and reinventing himself completely. Gatsby's real name is James Gotts, a poor kid who transforms into a wealthy legend with a carefully crafted past, and that blank space in his history feels intentional. Jack already had the charm, the hunger for something bigger, and the fearless way of stepping into high society without blinking. Both men fall hard for women perched above them in status, and both chase love like it's the only prize that matters. The idea paints a continuous arc from third-class dreamer to Long Island icon, building a fortune out of sheer will. Luke Skywalker was always the chosen one. This theory flips the prophecy on its head and argues that while canon names Anakin as the chosen one, Luke's the one who truly carries it through. The prophecy speaks of balance and the end of the Sith, and Anakin destroys Darth Sidious in a final act of redemption, but Luke sets that redemption in motion. He refuses to kill his father, rejects the dark side outright, and holds on to compassion when it would have been easier to give in. Obi-Wan places his faith in Luke after Anakin falls, even guarding him as a last hope. Luke sparks the balance and sustains it. He inspires others, confronts darkness again and again, and lives the Jedi ideals consistently. This view treats the Chosen One as a responsibility carried over time. Dorsia is heaven. In American Psycho, Patrick Bateman treats a dinner reservation at Dorsia like it's the final level of existence. He calls constantly, drops the name in conversation, and practically vibrates with envy when Paul Allen casually says he's got a table. The maitre d' laughs him off again and again, and that rejection starts to feel bigger than restaurant politics. In this theory, Dorsia is exclusive and symbolic. Bateman can buy suits, apartments, and status symbols, yet he can't buy entry into this one place. That unattainable reservation becomes a stand-in for purity and fulfillment in a world drowning in ego and materialism. His entire social circle obsesses over elite spots, but Dorsia sits above them all, glowing like a promised reward. The idea turns a simple booking into a spiritual barrier he'll never cross. Teddy Daniels is not insane. This theory reframes Shutter Island as a massive psychological operation aimed at one man. Teddy arrives as a United States Marshal investigating a disappearance, and from the start, the island feels staged. Staff members dodge his questions, restrict access to records, and guide him through carefully controlled spaces. George Noyce warns him that everything is an elaborate game, and that he shouldn't trust Chuck, which sounds less like rambling and more like a clue. Chuck later turns out to be Dr. Sheehan, supposedly participating in therapeutic roleplay, yet that reveal can also read as coordinated manipulation. Teddy's migraines, nightmares, and distorted perceptions unfold while he's under constant pressure and isolation. The doctors claim they're helping him confront delusion, but the environment itself keeps shifting around him. It's compelling to view him as reacting logically to engineered chaos. Donnie Darko and The Matrix exist in the same universe. This theory locks onto the tangent universe concept and treats it like a glitch in a larger system. In Donnie Darko, a jet engine crashes into his room and splits reality, creating a temporary branch where Donnie becomes the living receiver. He gains awareness others don't have, sees strange paths guiding people, and develops abilities that bend normal rules. That structure feels eerily similar to the programmed reality in The Matrix, where anomalies can sense the code underneath everything. Frank, the rabbit-masked guide, functions like a system messenger, nudging Donnie toward choices that will reset the imbalance. Donnie follows signs no one else perceives and understands that his world operates on hidden layers. This idea reframes him as an early anomaly, correcting instability before the system fully stabilizes. Loki doesn't save Keller. The final seconds of Prisoners hinge on that faint whistle drifting through the quiet yard, but the film cuts to black before anything is confirmed. Loki has just been grazed by a bullet and takes a head injury during the confrontation with Holly. He's exhausted, bleeding, and processing everything that's happened. When he pauses and tilts his head, the sound could be Keller's desperate signal from the pit, or it could be a trick of a concussed mind. The movie never shows Loki moving toward the noise. He doesn't call out. He doesn't start digging. The camera lingers on his uncertain expression and then ends. There was reportedly a filmed rescue scene that didn't make the final cut, leaving this ambiguity intact. The idea that Loki might dismiss the whistle as trauma, walking away without realizing Keller's still alive, is a grim way to view the film's resolution. Silva is M's son. This theory zeroes in on the message he sends her in Skyfall, "Think on your sins," which fans famously rearrange into "Your son isn't in HK." The idea suggests his imprisonment in Hong Kong was a personal abandonment. Silva's rage is laser-focused on M, not the agency as a whole. He calls her mother and mommy during their confrontation, and the theory treats that language as literal rather than taunting. M's comment about orphans making the best recruits carries extra weight here, hinting at a past where she might have taken in a gifted child and molded him into an operative. His betrayal then feels deeply familial. Their cat and mouse dynamic transforms into something that resembles a fractured parent and child reckoning. The DeLorean is alive and helps Marty. This theory watches the time machine's behavior and sees intention instead of coincidence. In Back to the Future, the car conveniently stalls or struggles to start at moments that buy Marty crucial seconds. Near the climax, it refuses to fire up until the exact beat when the lightning strike can send him home, almost like it's syncing itself with fate. Earlier hiccups delay him just enough to avoid derailing key events. The rule about hitting 88 miles per hour stays consistent, yet the timing of each jump lines up perfectly with what the timeline seems to require. Fans read that pattern as guidance rather than random malfunction. The DeLorean doesn't just transport Marty through time, it appears to course correct, nudging him toward outcomes that keep history intact. Superbad is a retelling of The Big Lebowski. This theory lines up the character dynamics almost beat for beat. Seth mirrors Walter Sobchak with that loud, stubborn energy, always trying to control the night and insisting things go according to his plan. Walter does the same thing, forcing his intensity onto every situation no matter how chaotic it gets. Evan slides into the role of the dude, reacting more than directing, caught in the swirl of someone else's schemes while just trying to make it through with minimal damage. Then there's Fogel, the McLovin legend himself, filling the Donnie space as the oddball third wheel, whose side adventure somehow exists on its own wavelength. There's even a nod to the Coen brothers tucked into a store scene. The trio dynamics echo across generations. The Ghostbusters died when they crossed the streams. In Ghostbusters, Egon flat out warns that crossing the proton streams could mean every molecule in their bodies exploding at the speed of light. That's catastrophic annihilation spelled out clearly. When they finally link their streams against Gozer, the explosion is massive, engulfing the rooftop in blinding energy. The blast looks powerful enough to match the disaster Egon described. Afterward, the film jumps straight to celebration. Crowds cheer, debris falls, and the team emerges covered in soot, but there's no detailed aftermath, no medical checks, no grounded explanation for how they physically survived something that was framed as apocalyptic. This theory treats that victory as ambiguous. The idea suggests the crossing unleashed total destruction, and what follows could be the final triumphant image before the true consequences set in. Ariadne's true mission is to incept Cobb. On paper, the job in Inception is about planting an idea in Robert Fisher's mind, but this theory shifts the spotlight onto Cobb himself. From the moment Ariadne joins the team, she's dissecting Cobb's psyche. She challenges him, digs into his memories of Maul, and refuses to ignore the projections wrecking their plans. Miles introduces her as someone better, and she quickly becomes the only one willing to confront Cobb's guilt head-on. She pushes him deeper into limbo, forcing him to face the version of Maul he created. The emotional thread about growing old with regret lands hardest on Cobb, not Fisher. By the end, Cobb lets Maul go. That release feels like the real planted idea, carefully guided by Ariadne all along. Tyler Durden is real. This theory doesn't argue he's a separate physical person, it claims he's the protagonist's true core identity. In Fight Club, the narrator discovers that he and Tyler are the same man, that every fight, every speech, every act of Project Mayhem came from his own body. Tyler appears in subliminal flashes, even before their official meeting, hinting that he's been forming beneath the surface the whole time. He embodies the aggression, confidence, and anti-consumerist rage the narrator represses in his corporate life. While the narrator hesitates and doubts Tyler acts, he recruits followers, gives orders, and reshapes the world around them. The so-called alter ego consistently dominates the passive self. Tyler is the authentic personality finally breaking through, with the narrator as the mask that couldn't hold forever. Dennis Nedry is the true villain of Jurassic Park. This theory skips the dinosaurs and points straight at the guy behind the keyboard. Nedry is the one who accepts money from Biosyn to steal embryos and smuggle them off the island. To pull it off, he deliberately shuts down the park's security systems. The electric fences go dark, the gates unlock, predators that were contained suddenly aren't. Every rampaging Tyrannosaurus moment traces back to that decision. His resentment over pay and his greed push him to override safeguards designed to protect everyone. Other characters misjudge the risks of cloning dinosaurs, sure, but they aren't the ones flipping the switches. Nedry's sabotage is the turning point that transforms a corporate theme park into a survival nightmare. This view reframes him as the catalyst behind all the chaos. Whiplash does not have a happy ending. The final performance looks like a triumph, but this theory sees something darker unfolding in real time. Throughout the film, Fletcher humiliates and pressures his students, insisting that greatness only comes through suffering. Andrew absorbs that belief completely. He distances himself from his girlfriend, pushes his body past injury, and measures his worth solely by Fletcher's approval. When the climactic concert spirals out of control, Andrew storms back on stage and takes command, launching into that explosive drum solo. Fletcher locks eyes with him, and instead of defeat, there's recognition. Andrew finally earns the nod he's been chasing. His father watches in stunned silence, not pride. The moment feels less like freedom and more like surrender to obsession. Andrew fully steps into Fletcher's worldview, and now he can't escape it. Robocop is Jesus. The theory points straight at Alex Murphy's brutal death scene in Robocop, where he's gunned down with his arms blown apart and spread wide, imagery that echoes crucifixion. He's a fundamentally good man, executed violently by criminals while trying to do the right thing. Then comes the resurrection. Omni Consumer Products rebuilds him as Robocop, literally raising him from death in a transformed body devoted to justice. That rebirth shifts him into a savior role, returning to cleanse Detroit of corruption and crime. In the final act, he strides through shallow water in the factory showdown, a moment many see as a visual nod to walking on water. Even the director described him as an American Jesus. The structure follows death, resurrection, and righteous judgment so cleanly. Deer are a metaphor for black trauma. In Get Out, the film opens with Chris and Rose hitting a deer, and the camera lingers on the dying animal while Chris stands there visibly shaken. That moment connects directly to his memory of his mother dying after a hit and run, tying the deer to personal grief and unresolved guilt. Deer are prey, hunted, and controlled, and that vulnerability mirrors how Chris is positioned throughout the story. Dean Armitage goes on a strange rant about deer overrunning neighborhoods and needing to be eliminated, language that echoes racist narratives about controlling black communities. Inside the house, a mounted deer head hangs like a trophy, symbolizing dominance over a conquered body. Later, Chris is literally restrained and auctioned. The recurring deer imagery frames him as hunted within a system built to consume him. The Dark Knight has a strong theme of surveillance ethics. The clearest example comes when Batman converts every cell phone in Gotham into a sonar device, creating a real-time map of the entire city to find the Joker. That system lets him see everything, everywhere, turning private citizens into unwitting data points. The threat is extreme, but so is the response. Lucius Fox reacts immediately with moral resistance. He calls the machine too much power for one person and makes it clear he'll resign if it stays active. The film doesn't treat that objection as a joke or a minor complaint. It lingers on it. Batman ultimately agrees the technology crosses a line and rigs it to self-destruct. The story forces the privacy versus security debate into the heart of the climax instead of leaving it as background tech. Napoleon Dynamite is what poor people are like in Wes Anderson movies. This theory compares the emotional DNA rather than the camera angles. Napoleon Dynamite drops viewers into Preston, Idaho, where awkward teens chase oddly specific dreams with total sincerity. Napoleon sketches lion-tiger crossbreeds, Pedro runs for class president, and everyone speaks in flat, deadpan bursts that feel unintentionally poetic. Wes Anderson films often orbit socially strange, hyper-specific characters who live inside carefully contained worlds, but those worlds usually have a polished upper-middle-class sheen. The theory imagines stripping away that curated aesthetic and replacing it with thrift store wardrobes, modest houses, and rural isolation. The result feels similar in spirit. Earnest misfits navigating their own tiny universes with straight-faced confidence. The comparison highlights shared quirkiness while shifting the setting to something humbler and dustier. The Room is intentionally bad. This theory takes every awkward pause and strange line reading as part of a master plan. The film's bizarre dialogue, stiff performances, random subplots, and endlessly repeated catchphrases feel so extreme that some fans argue they couldn't be accidents. Tommy Wiseau has described it as a black comedy and claimed everything was done meticulously to provoke the audience, which fuels the idea that the chaos is calculated. Scenes drag on without clear purpose, characters behave in ways that defy normal logic, and the tone swerves wildly from melodrama to unintentional laughter. Supporters see that as deliberate surrealism, a rejection of polished Hollywood storytelling. Then there's the cult phenomenon, packed midnight screenings where audiences shout lines and celebrate the absurdity. The joke might have been engineered from the start. The Fast and Furious sequels are Dom Toretto's coma dreams. The theory kicks off with the ending of the first film, where Dom's Charger flips violently during that final race, and he's hauled away injured. Some fans imagine that Crash leaves him comatose and everything after becomes subconscious spectacle. The early movies focus on street racing and smaller stakes, but then the series rockets into bank vault heists dragged through cities, globe-trotting spy missions, and stunts that laugh at physics. Characters gain near superhero durability, hackers appear on demand, and old allies return with convenient memory loss arcs. The escalation feels surreal, almost untethered from the grounded tone they started with. In this reading, Dom's obsession with family fuels the dream logic, building a world where loyalty always wins, and he's unstoppable. Honestly, the shift in scale fits that interpretation surprisingly well. If you enjoyed this, I talk about crazy movie theories a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.